So this is just a quick tutorial I wanted to show you as to how I do this animation technique, which I found out you can do in Google Earth Studio. Doing these kinds of tutorials isn't my main project on YouTube. I run another channel called The Track Record, where I do lots of Vox style, geopolitical, documentary style things. So if you think you might want to check that out, I'll link that down below. But let's just jump into it. So first of all, this is Google Earth Studio. Now you need to sign up to Google Earth Studio on the website and register. I've never heard of any case of them rejecting anyone, but it normally takes maybe 24 hours or something to set that up. So you'll come to this page here. Now Google Earth is really good because you can jump straight into these template animations. So I'm going to select Orbit. So you go in here. Now pick a location, it can be any location. I'm going to pick Kowloon Walled City Park. Why Kowloon Walled City Park? Well, that's because that's another video I'm working on at the moment. I'll link that below when it's done. So here we go. So we have this three-dimensional rotating animation of Kowloon Walled City Park in Hong Kong. Now you can see that these buildings are passing in the front here. Now, one of the limitations of Google Earth Studio is that while it's three-dimensional on the website, once you export it out and put it into After Effects, it's basically just a two-dimensional video. So it looks 3D, but you can't composite anything, for instance, behind this building without spending hours and hours to keyframe the building out. So there's a workaround which I found to do this. So let's set this animation to about 30 seconds. And here we go. Now, one last thing that we have to do before rendering it out of Google Earth Studio is to add something called a track point. So what you need to do is click in the center of wherever it is that your camera is focused on. So you can see here our camera is rotating around this point there. So you just do right click, set track point, and I'm just going to rename this to center. There we go. Now, one last thing you need to do in Google Earth Studio is you need to render this out. So you need to go up here, give it a name, so call it Kowloon City Rotate. You need to select a file for it to appear into. So I've selected tutorial there. You need to make sure it's an image sequence, and then you can make it whatever resolution you want. I think it's nice to make things 4K, so 3840. Then you need to pick a position for your attribution. So I put it in the bottom left normally, but do it wherever you like. And then you hit start. Now, you do have to wait for it to render out. Now, just a point, if you close the browser, it will pause. So you have to keep it there. So I'm going to go make a cup of tea. So while that's rendering out, you now need to open up another program called Google Earth Pro. Now, this is another free program you can find online. It's not a web-based program like Google Earth Studio. You install it on your desktop. So I'll link to that down below. But once you've downloaded it and open it up, you'll come to this page. Now you have to search for wherever it is you're doing your animation around. So for me, I've got it around Kowloon Walled City again. Now you need to select this tool here. Now this is basically a polygon tool. So what you do is you just do 4 corners around there, and that kind of puts down this red grid, okay? So style and color. Width, put it down to 0, you don't want width. Colour, I'd recommend red. I'd avoid anything like green or blue because that could be picked up in water or trees and provide something for the program to get confused over. Select OK on that, and then altitude, just make sure that's set to clamped to ground. So you hit OK, you come down to here, right click, save place as, and then I'm going to give it a name. So I've already saved this, so I called it KML Carpet Kowloon. So you just hit save and that's fine. Now we come back into Google Earth Studio and you have this initial animation which you rendered out before. Now just a warning, we're going to do a second render out of this, and you need to make very sure not to move any of the existing keyframes. Otherwise, once it's in After Effects, it won't line up. So what we need to do is you need to come up to here, File, Import, Overlay.kml, and then you need to select the KML file that you selected before. So hit Open, and you see it drops in this basically red carpet. It looks like the floor is made of lava, if anyone ever played that game as a kid. So close that down, and what we do is we render it out again. So exact same process, so just call Kowloon Walls City plus KML. Set the attribution to the same place, and then set the resolution as the same. So off we go, render it. Okay, so now we have our two renders. So the next thing that we need to do is to go over into After Effects. So here we are in After Effects. Now, what you need to do is you need to go File, Script, Run Script File, and you need to find the original without the KML. So Rotate Keylight Test is what I called it, but you'll have called it whatever you want. Okay, now you want to delete text layer. Right, so now here we have our animation set up in Google Earth Studio. Now what that is there is that's a null object. So this layer is just simply a two-dimensional layer. It may look 3D, but it is just a video. Now any kind of translational movement, scale, position, rotation data is attached to this null object. So that means that you can bring anything within After Effects and parent it to the null, and that will cause it to move with this two-dimensional video as if it was actually in the three-dimensional space that existed within Google Earth Studio. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make a shape, just a shape, any kind of shape really, just with an appropriate number of vertexes. So this is the asset that is going to be hidden behind the buildings when I do this later stage. So it's currently a two-dimensional layer. So what you want to do is you want to hit 3D and it vanishes. So it's gone off somewhere in 3D space. Now I want to parent it to that null. And then what you do is you zero out the position and you zero out the rotation. Cool, and then it's of this crazy size, it's a scale, let's just bring it down. And there we go. Now what you do, grab the vertexes of your shape and you need to reposition it in line with whatever you do. Now, of course, I'm doing just a broad 3D shape. You don't have to do that. You could do any kind of image or icon or anything like that that you want to fit behind your whatever it is you're doing a project of. So let's just rotate that with the video. So I'm highlighting the area of this park. So there we go. So now you can see that basically I have this red outline on the park that's rotating with it. So it already looks pretty cool. But if I want that to be hidden behind these buildings, so for instance that building there that comes across, I want it to be hidden behind that. So here's the next step is what I do. I go over to the project panel, import, file, and then I find the other version that had the KML, this kind of red carpet on. So you select the first image and it should say import JPEG as sequence. So we bring that in and then it appears in the project panel and we just go plunk and we drop it there. So now you can see what's happening. So we have this kind of red carpet effect on top. Right, so we have it there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select an effect called Linear Color Key. Here is called FX Console. It's another free plugin, helps speed things up. I would recommend it, but if you don't have it, go and find Linear Color Key in the Effects and Presets panel. So you have the Linear Color Key up here. Now let's get the eyedropper tool and select this red color. Now what that has done is that has basically told the computer to ignore any color on that layer that is red. So if I just solo this layer and then change the bottom to a funky color just so you can see what I'm doing, you see, so it's basically removed everything there. And that is basically it. So you have this red outline that is obscured by any building. So that's the end of my tutorial. As you can see, it's a massive time saver because if you were to try and manually key out by hand that building, it would take you hours basically. I'd also just like to give some credit to the YouTube channel Imagiscope. This is a simplified adaptation of a technique which I first saw over there. And also, if anyone from Google is watching, one feature which would be a massive time saver is if we could render out a transparent video with just the three-dimensional buildings from within Google Earth Studio. It would avoid having to go through this whole method. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and if you want to check out some of my own animations, then I'll link to my main channel down below. Thanks.